Okay, so where to start, right? Um, because every journey kind of has a starting point. And for me, the first memories of those intuitive moments, I can remember as far back as age 4, but I also remember the fact that my mom was very anti her intuitiveness. There was this big pushback from her about her ability to know and see things, which of course then leads into judgment, right? Like, we lead our lives by the examples around us until we learn otherwise. And so it really, was about a lot of repeating cycles, a lot of repeating energies. We're in the pre-shadow as I'm doing this first episode of Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde is like that reset, okay, where we can go back and look at things and figure out what it is that we want, think, and, desire to change. And sometimes for the universe to be like, no, I'm just going to push you into it, right? But it is that sort of, where are you in your life, taking those cycles that you've learned that aren't really yours and progressing them to the next generation, progressing on. And it comes from little beadlets of trauma, okay, for all of us. And it doesn't have to be, the full blown, trauma of, severe abuse or malneglect. We all have little beadlets of trauma within us that create the being that we are, that create the energy that we have defined as being who we are kind of as a whole here. And we take those beadlets and sometimes we turn them into, giant orbs. Okay, sometimes they just remain little beadlets. But it's kind of like when you see, what got me thinking about this, I posted about it on Instagram this morning, going into the shadow, because I've done a lot of reflection this year and a lot of work with my daughter about my past cycles of parenting. And we're all work in progress, so I'm still working on it. And being, authentic when I see myself repeating these cycles where I am repeating my childhood. And so sometimes I get to see things through the eyes of others. And when you see a child who, they want to talk, there's a need to talk, there's a desire to talk, and you have a parent who was shut down as a child, or who was just told it's my way or the highway. And maybe even sometimes you get those two entities to come together as parents. And so when a child is trying to express themselves and they are immediately shut down, there is this feeling of, to the child, well, my needs are not important. And they slowly, over time, will learn that, I can't open up because my needs are not important. And then it's oftentimes a repeating cycle of an inability to have that authentic vulnerability. And authentic vulnerability means something very different for everyone. Not everyone has the same emotional subset as everyone else. But being vulnerable is number one about taking a leap of faith to be your authentic self and having the belief that the other person will hold space and allow you to take this leap to, put out the energy that you need to put out and go on your journey. And then, of course, occasionally as parents, there is the energy of, well, where do I step in with my child to correct the behavior? And that's always a question. And a lot of it has to do with age. A lot of it has to do with, well, have you thought about all of the reasons behind it? Some behaviors are the mechanics of the body. Some behaviors are, the mechanics not getting the right nutrition, the right fuel. Some of the behaviors are taught, what we've given them. And so you're probably sitting there going, well, what does this have to do with tuning into tarot? Tuning in to your intuitive self. And it's because we always start with the Fool. Okay, we always start with the leap of faith. And the leap of faith shows up in very many different ways within all the varieties of card decks. And it is always about how are you leaping forward. Okay, so for instance, in this deck, okay, this character is leaping forward and there's all of this like magical water, right? And the light is reflecting. So in shamanic practice, right, the sun is, Father, right? God, the great energy. And water is the emotions, the depths. And when we bring sun and water to, the light and the water together, it is that reflection that brings the rainbow, which is created by all of those colors, all of that light. And it's often a sign of blessings. So when you see a card like this, and in this deck it's called the Wanderer. And so as the Wanderer, like you could take this as being, okay, it's just the Fool, it's a leap of faith. I don't, as an intuitive, number one, I'm looking for the messages that are coming in for the specific time, for the specific sort of questions that I'm asking and getting answers for. And it is about what image is really showing up in this card to, calling to me. And number one, it's a joyous leap forward in this deck. Okay, jumping off of a little cliff, okay, to walk across this rainbow into the water onto the beach. Okay, this is somebody taking a joyous journey, okay, taking a blessed journey, in taking themselves on the journey along the way. Now, of course, then there are other sorts of leaps of faith that then show up throughout the rest of the decks. And so, like we have 10 of Bones, which is the 10 of Pentacles here in this deck. And so you have the idea of carrying the burden, this heavy burden, up to that cliff, up to this space where this fire, this passion within you is waiting for you, okay, to take that leap onto the next sort of space. There is, okay, the Tower. In this deck, it is the Blasted Oak. And sometimes it's that push into the leap of faith. Like you wouldn't do it. And the universe comes along and pushes you into this leap of faith. So sometimes our starting moment for our journey is not this beautiful, like butterflies and and rainbows. Okay, sometimes it's hard changes. Sometimes it is moving into that dark night of the ego, okay, to go through all of this. And sometimes we take a leap of faith and we're met with the frustration of resistance and attacks, okay? This very much could be here with the Five of Arrows. It could be the being shut down for going after what you wanted to speak, say, or do, or be. It's the wounds, okay, that come at us when we are taking that leap. Now, I remember my first foray into intuitive energy. I was born a twin, and we still have no idea what happened to my twin. But when I was 4, I saw, whether this was a past life journey or my twin, I saw what I have believed to be my twin over and over and over again in a fire. And then I turned 5 and it stopped. It was a message that was a little bit terrifying for me. I'd always had imaginary friends, and I always felt a little different and, spent a lot of time by myself. But that was my first foray into, seeing some darkness. And I lived in a very dark world, let me tell you, because my father was an alcoholic, and, we'd, sneak out into the car. When Spirit gives me asthma, it means that somebody needed to hear this story or needed to hear this message. And we would drive around town and wait for him to pass out and come home. And so, there is a part of that imagery that I was getting that could have, been this idea of, home being a place of fire, okay, a place of danger. And it's important when you look at your messages, that's why I look at the visuals, okay, it's important when you look at your messages that you're also being very alert and aware of what is Spirit trying to give me in this? Like, what's the additional message of the image? All right? Because, like in this deck, this Fool is sitting with their little dog and their little, stick, their little going off to be a wanderer stick. There's a rose growing out of the cliff, and it's a white rose, so it's a sign of, that purity and waiting. Okay, waiting for the right timing to now move forward. And sometimes that's the important message. Like, sometimes the message isn't about leaping ahead immediately. It's about, okay, do you see the path forward? Do you see that Spirit is guiding you, and you're getting these messages, and you see the divine time to move forward? In my personal deck, this is the Fool also sitting, okay, looking out, trying to see through. There's like all the clouds, and there's all the emotions and all the thoughts, and looking deep within to determine when it is safe to stand up and leap ahead. Also, I have the Fool here in my Tower card. So we've got the woman here, okay, that it's almost like a fear to leap ahead, but the storm is coming. So will she or won't she actually take that action to leap and, go into this next part of the journey within the storm and within the raging emotions? The Tower is oftentimes seen as, being a surprise. And sometimes that is surprise to move us forward. Now, we don't always leap forward on the Fool's journey, okay? One of my favorite decks is the Crow Tarot. And the card with the Fool in the Crow Tarot, the crow, appears to have most of its body as a wooden bird, okay? Where only the head is this crow. And it's not really a cliff, it's on a log, kind of floating along. And there's this energy of not your head being in the game, but the rest of you not being ready to leap ahead. Now, as well, the crow, okay, may look for a safer space to cross over, okay, to not have to, fly there, to not have to soar, to take a safer route. The crow may take off their mask, okay, get the clarity and, come up and be on the top of the throne here on this cliff. Looking for, I've won, I'm foreseeing what my future is so I can take that next step. We often see the Seven of Wands, okay, with that same sort of a stance, being on top, ready to leap forward. But this is about leaping forward for, at least in this card to me, it always is about leaping forward, leap of faith, about passion, about something that you know, out of all the choices, you know that this is the one worth fighting for. And there's often many cards that also showcase the journey to this new beginning. In the Crow Tarot, the Knight of Wands to me is about that uphill battle, the actions that you're taking, okay, to actually get there, to actually get to where you are going to be able to take that next step, to take that next part of your journey. Now, I haven't always lived in the Seattle area, and I always felt drawn and called to Seattle. And I've been here many times before. My very first experience here, I was here with a girlfriend, and we were, quite young. And we spent over an hour in the University District. There was a guy that had climbed onto the bridge over I-5 that was threatening to jump. And we spent all of this time there, and there was nothing we could do but sit there and send out good energy and prayers to this person. And eventually they did walk off the bridge. Sometimes going out onto the bridge, not jumping, is the leap of faith. Okay, sometimes the leap of faith is just showing that you're ready for that change. And so we're always looking for this symbolism, okay, as we're going through our journey. With this deck, we see that, all right? She's on the edge, but she's surrounded by the butterflies. And they are dark butterflies. They're not the beautiful summery butterflies. So this is someone that's come out of transformation. Okay, to say, yeah, I'm ready. I'm giving you a symbol that I am ready to start again. Oftentimes we'll see the hermit, okay, out on the edge. Not leaping forward, but like that troubled soul, okay, over the freeway, looking for the illumination, for a path forward, for where do I belong in this world? Where am I going to? What do I, have to offer? Again, another emperor standing on the edge of the cliff. In this deck, to me, this is my time traveler. he's got that sort of Doctor Strange amulet, and has the, you know, the messenger here bringing the crystal to show, okay, what's the information I need to know so I can determine where I need to be, and kind of leaping from this point of being up and above. But also, this emperor wears this mask, almost like I can't let anyone know who I am and that I am going on this journey. And that's sort of what the tarot really kind of is, okay? It's going on this journey where you are being a part of Pachamama. So you are not just a part of the High Priestess energy of that lower world realm, but you're also in that space where time doesn't really exist. Okay, it's the 3D and the 4D in one sort of energy together. And so we can look at the past. You know, when I do my general readings, I'm looking for what was the past energies bringing us to this point. What are the future energies from this point? Okay, and that's like this emperor, like there, I'm at this point. Okay, if I travel ahead from this point here, what do I get? If I travel ahead from a different point of view, like if I go to a different timeline and I travel ahead, then how does it change? Because that's the thing, is that the future energy is always, time is fluid, it's always interchangeable. There's also the idea that you can also journey to the past to heal those wounds that you pick up, okay, along your journey. And so sometimes those messages coming from the past, from, you know, any sort of intuitive or shaman or tarot reader, is about how can I heal that to now take a next step forward. Now I'm taking it from a different timeline, so to speak, because I've healed that piece of my inner being and I'm not bringing that baggage with me onto the next step. And that's why the messages that you get are always changing, because you are a work in progress. You are always changing. We also have, again, okay, that Seven of Wands here in this deck, sitting here on top of the dragon. To me, dragons are about the lack of water, the lack of emotion. And so sitting on the dragon, ready to take flight on that leap of faith, to fight for all the passionate colors, what this person truly believes. Okay? And that's the same with the Emperor. The colors are often very important. Okay? And it's what you take from it, not necessarily what I take from it. But the colors here are that of the fire and the passion. And that's what sparks, okay, the cauldron to, you know, bring those emotions into being, to then, you know, imagine, to send the smoke up, to send those beadlets up, to get the blessings, the rainbows of thought and intuition into our daily life. Mystic Monday, okay, has just the one sort of cliff card, which is the Fool. But this cliff is a leap into what I see as being this deep purple indigo color of the unknown. Okay, and coming from a place that, depending on how you look at it in the situation, shh, that's Oliver. You'll meet him eventually. Coming from a place of either what is stability or watching to make sure they don't slip, okay? But they're carrying this flower, all right? This gift, so to speak, of I'm taking this pure heart into my journey to move forward. Now, another Fool that I love, okay, is in this deck. And this Fool doesn't even see that they're about to walk into this new leap of faith. And so I imagine that there's going to be a lot of shock on the other side, perhaps about what they have sort of brought into their life with this leap. And you have the mother and child, or father and child over here, kind of standing by and looking, as like, what are you doing? And this, the little dog is like, okay, I'll go with you. And so this person is going into this, what could be a deep abyss, could be anything, could be, taking that leap of faith where now they're going to have all of this like loss and, heart space and everything. And they've got someone with them. And the sun is shining. So it's not all bad. Okay. This guy here in the 8 of Cups, 8 of Cauldrons, is walking away in the dark up to the cliff. Okay. Sneaking off up to the cliff, away from the emotions, to see, like, am I going to go out and take this leap of faith? Perhaps this person goes up there and becomes the hermit. Okay, I'm standing on this, trying to see what direction do I leap to go after the sun, to go after my happiness, that knowledge, that knowing. On the 2 of Wands, it's the comparison. Standing up high, getting the comparison of 2 items, perhaps before leaping ahead, because then they have here in the 7 of Wands, again, that now standing on top of that wall, ready to leap forward and fight for whatever I've chosen. And so sometimes you do have that weaving message, right, going through a deck to kind of help you tell a story. Another one of my favorite decks here is the Light Seer. Okay. And this is because this Fool is falling backwards with trust. Okay, this is trust and faith, but not 100% faith. Okay, because they're taking their wand with them and they're holding this crystal. Okay, they're like, I'm holding this crystal to make sure, to protect me, and I'm holding my wand in case I have to do any fighting. But there's the sacred geometry here, okay, of what they're falling into. So it is that leap of faith of trust, that you are following divine timing, that you are following this whole energy of what the universe has in store for you. And sometimes we're not ready, okay, to leap. Again, here's another card where Page of Swords in this deck, for me, is about getting up there, taking the small step, taking the easier route, but it's still about turning the page, okay, changing your viewpoints, getting rid of old beliefs and old paradigms, and using that wand to create a bridge to safely make it to the next stage without taking a giant leap forward. So baby steps. Again, we have the Hermit in this deck. Okay, trying to get the illumination, perhaps partway on the journey down. Like, I've taken the leap and I'm just sort of sitting here trying to stop for a second mid-leap. Where was I really going with this, right? Where do I want to end up? It's kind of like, Wendy with Waiting for Peter Pan. I've taken the leap. Peter Pan, but where are we going with this? Sometimes you walk up to the edge just to get some clarity. You may not even be going up there to leap. You're just going to the fool's space to get the knowledge, because the fool in, historical sense, the court jester could go anywhere within the court and was seen as the fool. And as such, the fool was invisible. So the fool would hear things and see things that others could not. And sometimes you're going to that space to get that clarity, to see things and hear things and make sure that, you're not coming from a place of ego, that you've got that full sense of what's going on. Sometimes you just walk to the edge to make sure the sun is still there, that the sun is still shining, that you can get over the last bits of pain that you've been carrying on your journey. Sometimes you walk up to the edge and you don't want to leap, and you take the hard path down, and it's a long journey, and it takes you a while to get there. And again, another Seven of Swords. Sometimes you get there and you're watching the sun, ego is still talking to you, and you crouch down, okay, to see, what do I really want here? What am I really leaping into? Is this what I want? Is this what I am willing to fight for? And we even see it in Oracle, okay? Because this is from my personally channeled Oracle deck, and this is morning. And it is about taking the leap of faith forward with a clear slate. And so from any sort of card deck, okay, you can get these ideas and you can go from there into the deeper version of your idea or your journey. Okay, so if I take, so let me pull a deck fully back together. We will use the one with just the one sort of Fool's card. Okay. And let's say I'm doing it for the collective here. All right. So for the collective, because we sort of all just took a leap of faith this week, I think it's, no coincidence that I am starting this series as we have just had this United States inauguration. And we were talking about that in the shamanic circle that I attend this morning, about how a lot of people are kind of sitting in that space of, I'm just going to rest and recover here at the cliffside before I take the next steps forward. People don't know necessarily what direction they want to go in yet, because they're healing from that trauma response, okay? Whether you were for or against, you probably feel some sort of trauma response related to some of the situation, okay, here. And so as a collective, all right, let's see, where are we at here? Okay, on this leap of faith. 10 of Pentacles. Okay, everything is stacked up for success. But again, this is a bunch of like little balls. And as such, they can roll. So there's no, like we were saying today, a lot of people are waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like a lot of people might be worried that what's going to tumble now. Okay. And there's the fear right there, the Four of Cups, the thoughts, the overthinking about perhaps the past, perhaps the future, trying to sit here in the unknown, because you can see that her hair is like dark purple, but she's sitting in it. She's sitting in the unknown with this fear, okay, of what's going to come in. I've got the cups, I've got the 10 of Pentacles, but what's going to fill it, or are they going to get filled at all? All right. And some of those thoughts are going to turn into the swords with the 4 of Swords, because there is past trauma. There is trauma response that you're having. And you are reliving the pain. Okay? And it's important to understand when those are coming up, those sort of thoughts, that you're understanding that this is a response to pain that I've been through in the past. So what do? We pause, which is what we're all doing here. This is the Hangman, upside down, blood flow through to the brain to get everything in that brain working again. Taking a minute to get the illumination and to get your bearings back, okay, to understand things better, but it's a pause. All right? And as you break out of this pause, there's a lot that we're going to see of people coming forward, not really showing. And a lot of this I also am feeling is with this coronavirus. People are not really showing all of the pain and all of the, suffering that they have felt. Standing here on one foot, not feeling 100% stable. I don't know if you've ever done tree pose, but unless you're really good at it, sometimes there's a lot of instability there. So she's got her wand here that she's holding on to, but she is wearing a mask, not showing like completely her whole self. And her direction, her guide is not 100% lit up. Like she's not completely sure if these first actions that she wants to take are the ones to take or not. So where do we go from there? Okay. Find our balance. There's going to be a little bit of juggling for everyone as we are going through this journey, as we are taking this leap of faith to find that balance, okay? Not all of it's going to be happy. Not every reader reads reverse, and sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. But for me, okay, this is somebody standing happy in the unknown. This is someone a little bit fearful of being happy because of the overwhelming, overbearing energy of the unknown. Okay. Some of us are afraid to take off our blindfolds and see if the world that we have been tied into, especially for the last 18 months with the pandemic, if it's still there today. Am I still tied in? Now I'm getting the tinnitus. So that's a big download for a lot of you. Is, are you afraid to take off that blindfold and see if you're still stuck and trapped? Because there's nothing holding this person there. You could walk through the swords at any time. None of them are upright. There's nothing harmful in your path if you are, being aware of your own truth, your own surroundings, your own needs and desires, right? And working in union, working in a partnership. Okay, this is about the synergy of the whole collective. Okay, all working together, regardless of beliefs, all working together in order to create this space that we desire, which doesn't take away from your individuality. You can still be the being that you are. You can still work on yourself and create the blessings that you seek and desire while being a part of the whole, while being a part of the collective, all right? It's about the synergy. the synergy of self with the synergy of the infinite energy around us, because we are all just energy. We are all just sort of working together here, working as one, trying to seek out what it is to be an individual and yet still working within the collective. That's called independence, okay? When we are kind of working in the energy of the collective, but not being able to have your own independent thought, it can turn into a bit of a codependence based on the resistance that you're creating out of those trauma beads that we've talked about. All right, so keep nourishing what you have. Keep working on what is yours, okay? Some of that may be a burden for some, okay? For some of us, maybe you do have the burden. Maybe you work in the medical field and there's a burden that you're carrying and filling. All right, you feel like at any minute still, the unknown, like something's going to come in and there's going to be some sort of betrayal or something that you are going to have to fight. This is the tail ends of that trauma. Okay, that is the tail ends of what we as a collective have gone through. And understanding, where does it stem from the current energy of what we've been through together, and where does it stem from your past, and how do you heal it? We heal it by seeing each other, understanding each other, holding space for each other in a loving energy as a soul tribe. All right, which is a very beautiful energy. Yep, that's how we come into a rebirth here as a collective. That is how we come in to this new space. Now, bottom of the deck, okay, shows that there are choices that we all have on this journey as we are moving forward. A lot of people are going to come through this and choose to fill their cups up with happiness. They're going to come out of this and see that they are like the bearers of water, okay? And as such, it brings them a lot of love and a lot of joy because it comes from here and not out there. Okay? That's how you end this cycle and really move on. And that was the question here, right? What are we going through? How do we move on? What do we need to know? The alchemy of this, the creation of this, being able to take the leap of faith, because 21, the world card, is the last card in the deck. That's completing the cycle so that you can move back to that zero, to the full, and take that leap of faith. There's your big bang. Okay, there's your big bang coming in to spark the nothingness into this leap of faith. And you're doing it by choosing love and unity and joy. Okay, choosing to work with what you have, work with the new perspective, seeking your own clarity, and knowing that the foundation of who you are is solid and that you can have this rebirth. And it's interesting because we've got here now the King and the Queen of Pentacles. All right, that's stability. That is coming into the most amazing union that you can imagine. And we started with the Ten of Pentacles, so it was here all along. We just have to work through those baby steps to get ourselves to the place where we see this, feel this, know it, and understand. All right. So that's what I do. Okay. I told somebody the other day that what I do is I am a decoder. All right. I'm like the special ink pen that you write with, and then you take the light and you see what was written. I am a decoder. I decode the mysteries. Sometimes I do that as a holistic practitioner, looking at someone's genome. Okay, sometimes I do that looking at their auric field. Sometimes I do that by just tuning in a shamanic way into the journey space and, getting guidance from spirit. Sometimes I do it using tools like tarot. And that's what tuning into tarot, I want to guide you that there's not one way. It's not like woo-woo versus science. Woo-woo is science. Some isn't quite caught up with, but some of it is about the idea that the woo-woo is that science has done things like been able to measure thought. Okay, we know about the microbiota now. We know that like pigpen in the peanuts, like we've got all of these little colony of aliens, this microbiota in our auric field. We've been able to, take pictures of the aura. We've been able to measure, and test psychic abilities. And so there really is so much science in this woo-woo, but it's so foreign to us, especially, I feel like especially here in the US, because we are taught to go to school, learn to test, be a cog in the machine. And the truth is the machine is an illusion. So whether you're going to buy into being a cog or not being a cog, your energy is part of the machine all over the world. And what you choose to do with it, what you choose, okay, here as this being independent within the energy and love and connection to the whole, like that right there, what more could you ask for? That right there is energy work. Okay, in all truth and reality, that's what it is. You're doing energy work. When you look at someone walking down the street and you smile with your eyes because we're wearing masks now, it sparks an energy and they carry it forward. There has been the, shown the 6 degrees of separation of happiness. If you Google it, you should be able to find that research. And so if you, spread a little joy to one person, that carries out 6 degrees from that person. Okay. And that's a beautiful, beautiful energy to be in. That's why I started a YouTube channel. That's why I'm starting this series, is to try to be part of that 6 degrees of separation of creation and joy and love and well-being. And so as such, I want to just remind you that don't doubt your own inner knowing. Okay, in the group that I participate in with, that's the more shamanic aligned, and we've got a lot of woo-woo in there, but we don't really practice that woo-woo in this group. We're more about the fundamentalism of the shamanic practice. And we've several times gone on journeys as a collective for members in the group for what they're going through. And you can see, okay, that everything is showing up. As a collective, you put all the parts together, and it's all parts of the puzzle that this person was seeking. So it goes to show that all of us from different spaces, different parts of the world, different backgrounds, following the inner ability of our own energetic connection, we all bring together the parts of the puzzle that we need to take that leap of faith forward. All right. So that's the beginning of the series, this tuning into tarot. Okay, the leap of faith. I feel like, again, it's no coincidence that this came to me last night, that I needed to do this, because we're all right there right now, the leap of faith. So I hope this takes you on your own journey, and you can, connect with me in a variety of ways. But just know that the most important connection, it starts with yourself, and then the leap forward to spark the energy with others. So as I always say, as I end my readings, much love and light, all right? And I hope you guys have a beautiful journey through the rest of your week, all right? Bye.